So I guess you're good with the static way of writing it. Okay, we just define and we execute this. Now let's say I had to configure something, like I had to configure VLANs, but I wanted them to be little bit scalable. Like say when I have a new building, then the VLANs uh, can be changed, right? There can be different VLANs. So I need a script where I can also uh, give this task to some juniors and they can get it going, right? So in that case, we make use of the Jinja template. So how Jinja template works is, so you have to write your main script first. Okay, the main script will only reference to the other components. You have to define source and destination. The other components here are, let's say, the Jinja template. So Jinja is something which is acting as templating. It's a template. Okay. For example, if I want a Jinja template for a VLAN, so what is the template? How do we write a VLAN for a iOS box? It's two command. We write VLAN and the VLAN number, and then we give a name for that particular VLAN. So this becomes a template, right? We have to appropriately write this in a Jinja format. Similar way, if I wanna put some STB command and I want to have something or some switch making as a root, so I can still keep some templating because it's a standard process. Like say if I have two switches, switch 1 and switch 2, one you need to be 4098 or 96, and the other one you want 8192. So you just go to spanning tree VLAN 1 and you give the priorities, right? Similar way, this can also be formed in a templating format and can be placed here. So this template will not be changed because that's a standard process of configuring VLAN and spanning tree or a trunking or a DHCP or logging server, right? So you're gonna create multiple instances of the templates. Now what is that gonna change? That's over here, the third block. Okay, the third block can be either in JSON or in YML. Now what is this? These are gonna give the data to this template, and these two will be called in the final script. So the job of the network engineer would just to run this script. Okay, before running the script he will just change the data can be very simple. Say for example he want to configure VLAN 1 to 100, so he'll just go to this file and he will say I need 1 to 100. That's all. He is not gonna do any changes here. He's not gonna do any changes here. So this is now like scalable because this model, this kind of environment is not dependent on one fixed script. You have something new, you can just change them and you can get it going, right? You don't need to write the whole script designed, or you don't have to do any changes on the main script. So this becomes more easy and is more scalable. So as you grow, the things might uh, be adding on, right? So you will add on a lot of things. So you can keep on changing the data value that will be synchronized with the template, and finally both of them are called here. So when triggering out, what happens is the data will be going to the Jinja template, and the whatever template we have, it's getting executed. So if I do this, it will be more easier to understand. And this is the important part of Ansible. Okay, not sure how many how many organization will do that, but that's important from the Ansible point of view, and which Python is not capable of doing. So to do this, what I'll do is I'll create a different folder. Okay, let's say I create a folder and I call it as templating class 123, and all other things, all the rest of file creation I will do straight away on this folder. So let's go towards that templating class 123. Now if I do listing, I don't have anything, right? So I'm on a empty folder. So as I told you, first I'm gonna write the JSON value, or I can write the templating. So let's start with templating because that would be more easier. So I'll go with nano command. Let's say it's vlan.j2. Okay. So this is an extension for Jinja. And why do we write J2? Might be that's a Jinja version 2 that we are having right now. So we go with Jinja 2 or J2. It's called as J2. Okay. Let me press enter. Okay, and let's write a template. So what is a template for writing VLAN? So there are two things. One is VLAN 100, and then we just define it. So let's say I want something like this. Okay, so that would be in the case of Python, and that would be in the case of the static way. But as I told you, this is scalable. Let's say the name was different, so you want it to be in very easy mode, right? So I will not put at VLAN 100. Instead, I will say it depends on what user is defining. Okay, in the third script, with the third script what I told you, right? So these are the two commands. I'll first write the format of this. Okay, so let's write the format. So Jinja follows certain format for that. Okay, it has three main thing. One is condition, defining variable, and the third is the comment section. So I'll show you the first thing, that is condition. When you write a condition, that could be for loop, while loop, you start with curly bracket and a percentage value. You're gonna say for VLAN in VLANs. Okay, now let these things get over. You will get your answer. Okay, I know you will get some question, where is VLAN, where is VLANs. So everything is defined. I'm gonna make it simpler. Okay, so this is your first line of calling it in a for loop, because you might have multiple VLANs to be triggered, right? So you're making this template in a for loop structure. Now what is the VLAN that we gonna configure? So I'm gonna say I want VLAN ID. Now again, you might be thinking, where is VLAN ID, right? VLAN is understandable, it's over here, but where is VLAN ID? I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so let's close this. The next thing is defining the name. Okay, I say VLAN dot name. Now again, name is missing from this Jinja template, right? So we are calling them in separate files. Okay, so we'll end for now. So we are gonna end this. Okay, give me just a second. Okay, so what is what? This is a variable. Okay, this is again a variable. This is a conditions. Okay, now let me tell you what is what happening here. So in this particular Jinja template, I say make use of this. Okay, VLAN as a variable in VLANs. Now this is something which you will be defining in your that third file. Okay, and you're making use of VLAN, and you're having something called VLAN ID and name. That's again somewhere here, and you're closing this. So how it works is, you are defining template in your Jinja, and the template will be relying on your next file, which is called as data, where you're gonna input the data. So this inputting, where you gonna input the data, will have these components defined. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll copy paste this lines, and I'll place somewhere in the notepad, because then I can show you later on. So let's say this is my notepad. I say VLAN.j2, and this is my first file. Okay, let's close this. Let's save this, I mean to say. And now let's talk about creating that data model, the model where you will be inputting your values, right? So let's make it as VLANs.json. Okay, let's follow some pattern. Let's say it's VLANs now, because that's what you're using in your template, right? VLANs. So you're gonna make use of that VLAN here, and make a bracket. Okay, I'll explain you how you follow this JSON. There is an easy way to do that. So I say VLANs start up the bracket. Okay, there is a format now. This is the format. If you're defining any JSON command or JSON model, then this is the format. Remember this format. Okay. Now, what about these two things? Where are these two things gonna come? So you are good with VLANs, but where are VLAN ID and where is the name that you're gonna define? That's inside these curly brackets. Okay, something like this: VLAN ID. Okay, and just define. So it's a dictionary format. Okay, key and value type. Go with any VLAN. So let's say we have VLAN 333 for the new upcoming data center. Now change the name as per you need. So let's say it's for customer BVRF. Okay. So this is the pattern. You can just copy paste and just change the values. Copy, come over here and paste it. Okay. Change the values once again. Two VLANs cannot have two similar name. It's gonna trigger error. I'll show you what error. Okay. So let's say if I am over here. Okay. So let's give some dummy VLAN creation. So let's say I have VLAN 780. I make use of VLAN 780. Okay. Now let's say I have 781, the next VLAN. Oh, sorry, there was a typo. Okay, 781. Now let's give the same name and you see what happens. It's gonna give you some error. It says two names cannot be identical. The similar way, don't make that mistake. You cannot keep the two similar names. So let's be very specific for that. So let's say this is for customer C or customer C. Okay, that's make a difference. Okay, so this is how we gonna define. And second thing is don't put the comma on the last line. Okay, if you have multiple lines, then start giving the commas. But let's create one more. Okay, so let's say I have one more. Copy and paste it. Oh, sorry. So copy this and paste it here. Okay, so in this case you have to put a comma here but not on the last line. I will show you. There are some online parsing tools which can help us. So let's copy this. Okay, and if I go over here, let's say JSON parsing, it will help me to understand if I have written a rightful JSON command or no. Okay, try it yourself. Let's put our own things. Let's run. It's good, but what if I put a comma here? Okay, so it's actually taking here, but there is one more tool which will show the JSON. So let me show you over here. As soon as you put a the comma, it's gonna say that there is an issue. Okay, so the right format you follow is this. So this is where we get our JSON value. Okay, or I can say this is the data model. I have to change the values. Don't do the mistake. C and D. Okay, so your junior engineers are only going to change this. The rest of will be as it is. Okay, but we have not still completed our main script, the script which we will be running. Okay, so let's go to the main script. Let's say main script.yml. Let's do the same thing which we've been doing. Okay, we define host. We have automation switches. We say gather facts no. We say connection to be network CLI. Okay, if you have enable password, you can set that. You can say like become yes, become method enable. This is for having the enable set. Okay, if you don't have, you can take it out. So once you do this, now what is your variable? Where are you going to give your data model, right? So you have to define that with the syntax called var underscore file. Okay, and you're gonna say it's under this file. So what file did we use? vlans.json, right? So let's see if that's right or wrong. Yes, it's vlan.json. I'm gonna call that. This is my data model. If I need VLAN 333, 334, 335, what are the names? It's over here. Okay, and this syntax is again a predefined syntax in Ansible. I'll show the document for this. Okay, now let's call the template. So we have to call the templates or the tasks that we are gonna execute. Okay, so I say the task, let's give the name. So let's say new VLANs. I'll make use of iOS config because I'm doing the configurations. Okay, so what I'll do is I will configure something, but yes, I will take the backup also so that I can validate something which I want to do automatically, or two things in one single file. What is my template? What is the template? If it was a static, what would you do? You would have written VLAN 333 and name whatever. It was static way, right? Over here I don't do that. I just call my Jinja template. Okay, I'm sourcing. Next thing, there's possibility that this box already have 333, 334, 335. As soon as they see something matching up, my script might break, right? So I say, even though there is something matching up, just ignore them. So I say match to be none. Okay, again, this is a inbuilt inside Ansible. You have like line checking, where line by line will be checked. You have strict mode, one is none. Okay, so there are a couple of things which I'll show you, and then we can close this. So what do we have now? We have three files. One is the main script which the junior engineer is gonna run, and this is the data model which he will be changing upon, right? As soon as something new comes on, he will go and he will just change this. He don't have to do anything on the template or on the script, because on the script, once again, you're making use of the host file where you keep the username and password. You're trying to take out all those unnecessary tweaking which can break your script. Okay, so three files. In case of dynamic Ansible, JSON is your data model where you give the input, the numbers, the username. Template is where you define the actual templating for configuring VLAN. Since it's a VLAN, I'm giving an example of VLAN. And then the main script. So which file are you gonna execute every time? You're gonna execute only this file. This is just a one-time creation. Okay, so I'll go to my as usual command, Ansible playbook main script, and I'll run this. Before running that, let's see if I have something already, because I don't want to keep the same VLANs and show you this. Okay, so if I do show VLAN brief, so I don't think I have anything for 333 or 334 or 335, right? So let's give it a try. VLAN was not found. So basically there is a typo error. Okay, so what is the typo error? Let's go and fix that. It's VLANs. Okay. Okay, looks like executing, but let's wait. Okay, do we have something? Yes, we have something. Okay, it says that the script configured on line vty0. Now let's do the same command, show VLAN brief, and do you see you have the three VLANs. If you see it from very broad, okay, because now this is your first class, might be you will be still confused why this approach, why not the Python or the static. The main thing is this is more scalable, because let's say once you have everything ready, the script is running, the next thing, as soon as something comes up, a new building where you need to configure something, You just have to go and change the JSON value. That's all. You just have to go to this and you have to change the values. You can add 10 more, you can delete something, or just limit it to this and go to the script and run the execution. It's helpful, right? Now, to someone for whom JSON is not helpful, I'll help you with YML model. Why YML model? Because already we are learning uh, the Ansible, which is again on YML model, right? So my main script, okay, this is on a YML format. So if I show you the nano of this is YML, okay. If I show you the JSON, then JSON is this. So it depends on you if you want JSON or YML, because data model can be either JSON, can be XML, can be YML. Now I'll show you one good tool which is JSON to YML. Okay, what I did is I copied the entire JSON value and I'm gonna use this tool which is called JSON to YML. I'll paste it here. It's going to give me equivalent value. Okay, might be this is more helpful to you. Okay, copy this whole thing, come back. Okay, what is this? Okay, and create another file with vlan.yml. Okay, save this. Okay, do a listing. You have 4 files. Backup is created because you were running the script, otherwise backup, okay, you can remove them if you want. If you do a listing now, okay, you have only 4 files. So this is the main script which you will trigger every time. This is the template for VLANs. You're gonna say what is the command for VLAN, and these are two now data format. You can go with JSON or you can go with YML, whichever you feel is good and better, or depending upon your customer. Might be he is giving you the data on a JSON format, right? So you can use such tools to understand how or what is the equivalent value in a YML, because YML is a combination of list. It's a list format in a dictionary written. So this is a list and these are the dictionary values. It might be this is more easier for you because Ansible also works on YML. JSON was just in intermediate. Somehow from somewhere it came, right? So it's up to you. This can be either JSON or YML. Data model can be either JSON, YML. Okay. So now I'll once again go back to my main script because I have to change something there. I say it's not JSON now, it's now YML format. Okay. And yes, I cannot keep the same VLAN for the second try because that's already created. It's not going to make any sense, right? So we can change the value. So let's go to nano VLAN YML. I'll change the values to like 6. I'll say it's E. Similar way, I'll change this values E, F, and G. Okay. Just to prove that YML is also good enough to execute the things. Okay, so it got executed. We got something over on our console. Let's check show VLAN brief, and we can see we have 3 more VLANs. Okay, 336, 337, 338 with new names. So this is a templating system that we call in Ansible, and this is very important because inside Ansible the topics are less. You don't have so many scripts, you don't have so many things because you will be doing the same thing, but there are a lot of development, or there are a lot of things like JSON, YML, XML, Jinja template. So things will make little more complicated. Now let me just tell you what I did, okay, because I know you guys might be a little confused. So there are 3 things which I need to write my dynamic feature of the Ansible. Okay, first thing is my main playbook, which I always execute with the command Ansible uh, playbook and the YML format. Okay, my playbook name. The second thing that I need is depending upon my task. Let's say the task was to create VLAN. So as a network engineer, we know it's a two line of command, right? So I'm going to make use of Jinja for templating. Jinja is a templating language. Okay. So this is used in Ansible. There is another language called as Puppet. You have Flask. You have Salt. There are multiple language, and all languages prefer Jinja because it's very easier to write. So we made use of another template here with the name vlans.j2, where I defined some for loops condition. I defined two statements, VLAN and VLAN name, and I did end for or ending the loop. Okay. So basically this template we're calling, or we're depending on an external file, which is my file number 3, which can be either JSON model or it can be a YML model. Okay. Because this can come from your customer. Might be your customer is sending you on a JSON on an or a YML. You just need to trigger, because this is something which you will be doing, and this is might be he's giving you the input, what VLANs he need, what are the names of those VLANs are gonna be, right? So that's, let's say that's coming from your customer. So this particular template is gonna have this variable. Okay. So the variable whatever we have, so let's say I had here VLANs. Now that's something which I have to write it here. So VLAN act as my main variable, and within them I have like VLAN ID, which I'll use here. Okay. For VLAN ID equals to 333. Might be the next is VLAN ID equals to 334. The next one was name. Okay. I call it as name, and that's over here. I have name, I have name. Okay. So when I execute this in my script, I have called upon this data model. Okay. VLAN.json, and in a source, while running the while executing the task under the iOS config, I'm defining my template VLANs.j2. So these two files within the main script. Okay. And when I execute this, it's calling the template, and the template is gonna get the get the data from this file. Okay. If you see from the day-to-day operations, you will not be doing anything here, neither here. You will just change the values every time on only on this script. That's all. Might be changing the values is something which a non-technical guy can also do. Just he has to change the number and the name with the latest one and just execute, right? It's a dynamic in nature. It's more scalable. Whereas in your static, you have to define all the VLANs, and then every next time, if you want to do something, you have to uh, change that script. Okay. So this is simplest model here to get the dynamic feature or the scalable feature. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one more script, the similar script, similar behavior, but the script is for interface configuration. Let's say I wanted to configure some IP address on the interface. Okay. So let's see first some of my free interfaces. So I can take something here in this range. Okay. Because they are free, and just make sure don't kick yourself out, because if you do any changes on this, you will be yourself kicked out from that box. Okay. So make use of any interface which will not cause any issues. So let's take this, because might be they are not at all used. Okay. So what I do is I'll once again go and create a new Jinja template now. Okay. Let me tell you, let me show you what all things do we need exactly. Okay. So let's say I go to this interface. Okay. First thing that I need is no shutdown. Of course I need that. Next thing I need is IP address. Okay. Let's see if this is gonna help me. Okay. So if when I put this IP address, let's see what happens. So it says that there is an issue. The issue is It's a layer 3 switch. So in a layer 3 switch, I also need to do no switch port, and then I need to get my IP address. Okay. So this were the 3 lines which I need, right? So these are the 3 lines which I require inside my template. So I say it's a interface dot JSON, J2. Okay. I'm not talking about data model. I'm talking about templating now. J2 is template. Okay. So within a template, I'm gonna define the template. So let's say it's a 2 or more interface. So I need a for loop, right? So I'm gonna give a condition for item in let's give any variable which we can use it in the data model. Let's say IP interface. Okay, and let's put a condition and close this. Okay, so it starts with this and ends with this. So this says it's single line statement. Okay, in the second line I'm gonna say I need interface. Okay, I'm not gonna define which interface, because if I, as soon as I put that interface number, then this dynamic nature will get turned to the static now, because that thing I want to keep it day to day operations, right? So I'm not gonna give any interface IP. That will be depending upon my data model. Okay, so there will be no data on your main script, neither on template. All the data will be only on the data model script, which can be JSON or YML. Okay, so this is a template. I'm only gonna say my script how the interface is configured on a L3, on a L3 switch, because on a Nexus might be the things are different, might be on a EOS the things are different. In my L3 switch, I have to make sure there are some no commands, and then I run the IP. Otherwise, I'll trigger some error myself. Okay, so I say interface. What is the interface that I'm going to consider? So let's give a variable so that it depend on the data model. Once I am within interface, I will say description, right? That's the way we configure, right? If I'm not wrong, see, description is the right word. We don't make use of name. Name is in the case of VLAN. In the case of interface, we make use of description. So let's give it as description, and I'm gonna say item, whatever you wanna describe it, because these are all getting used in my data models. Okay, this one, this one, this one. Okay, item is the current variable that you use in the J2. So let's say it's description. Okay, so once you done with description, you need no shutdown, which is a generic word. It don't depend on a data model, right? So you can do no shutdown, and you can do no switch port, which is a generic format. There's no need of any data dependency. Next is IP address configuration. So you say IP address, and you give item, because item is your current variable. And what is that you're gonna depend on your next script? That's something, let's say I'll make it as IP on the next script. Okay, along with IP, what is the format? So let's see, you need IP address, you need IP, and you need a subnet mask, right? So let's say I want this to be item dot subnet. Okay, in the next line, you can make exit. You want to come out of this and close this template, because this is a template for interface configuration. There can be nothing much that you can do it over here. But yes, if you have something else to do, then you have to tune your template. Okay, might be you want to create some duplex changes on all the scripts, then get the duplex configuration here. But I'm keeping it very simple, the generic format. Okay, so I'll close this and for, and let's close. Okay, this is a template for interface calling, description, no shutdown, no switch port, IP address with IP format, and subnet format. Okay, so I have to now define IP interfaces, description, IP, and subnet. Okay, so that we can make use of JSON or the data model. I can go with YML, okay, or I can go with JSON. As you know, we have a online tool So if my customer gives me in this, I can make use of this. If customer gives in this, I can make use of this. So that's not a big deal. Okay, I can make use of either way. So uh, let's say now we create that in YML format. Okay, because JSON is gonna be little complicated to create that, because we are good with YML. So I'll create on YML directly, and you will see correspondingly this thing is getting changed. So instead of writing over here and getting any issues, you can directly start typing here, and that's gonna help you. So what are the things that we have to call here? So I need something for my IP interfaces. That's the first thing. Okay, IP interfaces, and we need something for IP, which is in my J2 template. I need something for subnet, right? And yes, there is something called description also. So I guess these are the dependency files, right? If I'm not wrong, let me go back and nano J2. So I have like IP interface, fine, uh, interface, let me say interface, description is here. Let me bring it over here. Then these are the generic, I don't have to do anything. IP, okay, IP here, subnet is here, and that's all, right? So whatever dependency I have to mention here. IP interface acting as my the variable, the topmost variable. Okay, so I say it's IP interface. What is the format of writing interfaces? I say interface. Okay, and this is my data model, right? You agree with that? So I have to take the interface from my device. So let's say if customer is giving us some interface, so I have to consider them. So this is my interface. Okay, I'll paste it here. The second thing was description. So make sure you gonna get error until it shows in red. Okay, or until you're getting this, that means your format is wrong. So you consider only once you get something like in this green format. Okay, so this is as of now wrong format, so I'm going to fix that. Description will come here. If I bring IP, fine. If I bring subnet, okay, but there are some missing nodes. Okay, description, fine. See, this is a good format, but data is not complete. Okay, I'm gonna put data. So description, let's say created on Ansible. What is the IP you want to have? So let's say you want to give some IP. So let's say you want to give 77.77.77 dot 77. You want subnet configuration, right? So you want subnet to be 255.255.255.0. Okay, now this is simplest option that I feel better than doing it on JSON, because JSON you are not very familiar. YML is little bit okay. The same thing, you just copy paste, you just change to whatever different interface that you've been assigned for. You have 3/1, 3/2, 3/3, right? So you can change 3/1. Okay, and change the IP. Of course, you change this to 78.78.78.78. Okay, same things, copy paste. Sorry, not this. As soon as you do something wrong, you're gonna get that red color. Okay, so basically you have to start from here. Okay, change this to 2, this becomes 3. Description can be same on interface, is not gonna create a mess. This is now 79, 79, 79, 79. This is 80, this is 80, this is 80, and this is 80. Okay, see, as soon as you have some issue, that's gonna have. So basically you're gonna have the dictionary format, so you should keep like a space between them. You can take either one of them. You can take this or you can take this. It's depend on which language you are good, whether on YML or on JSON. So let's say you take this. Okay, come back to your server. Okay, and create a new file which is called interface YML, and you paste it. okay, come out of this. Now what about your main script, right? So for main script will depend on our the previous one. So over here my variable file or my data file is now interfaces, okay, it's interfaces.yml, and on my task it's again interfaces.j2, and match I'm gonna set it none, okay. If you want you can take out the backup if you don't want to see the backup, or if you want to have backup, or you want to see the show interface, you can write one more task, take the debug, something which we've been doing, okay. So let's say I just want to see the dynamic feature and not complicate with lot of things, okay. So let's run this. Okay, so looks like there are something getting configured, okay. And if you see the pre-configurations were shown as nothing configured, but let's see. Okay, show IP int brief. So you can see it's accurately configured, okay. If I want to open up the show running configuration, so you see the description is present, the no switch port is good, IP address configured, okay, all the things that you want, and it's like no shutdown. So that's how the things work in dynamic. You just go and change the template, okay. So let's say you go back to the interface.j2, okay. Let's say you don't want this statement, okay, and if you rerun this, might be you did a mistake. Okay, so this is because you already have them. So let's say we go with YML, okay, and you want to configure something else. So let's say 2-0, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, and similar way you are changing the values. So let's say you have 1, 2, 3 and 4. So let's rerun this. So you got this error because when you tried going with IP address, okay, it's gonna say invalid input detected, because that's behavior of our L3 switch, right? So if you go to the interface gi2/0, if you straight away put a show IP address like 76.76 dot something, okay, might be we had already taken that. So let's take it as 2/3, and if I put this IP address, you going to get an error, okay. So we took care of that thing in our JSON templating. I said I know that it's a L3 switch. I have to first go with no shutdown and no switch port, and then comes my IP address or my statement for IP addressing. Okay, so templating is all up to you, but it's a one-time configuration. Let's say you have a Nexus. In case of Nexus, uh, in case of Nexus, you basically go with IPv4, right? In case of iOS, you just go with IP address. So it's a templating which a network engineer should design them. Okay, so you should know the templating format. I'll do cat this time. So this is okay. I'll clear and I'll do this cat. So you have your templating system. You can configure this for VLAN, DHCP interfaces, for logging host, whatever you can configure. Data model you can depend on either, let's say, VLAN dot JSON. You can either prefer this for data model, or you can prefer this. Both are good. Okay, So you're gonna feed your data over here. This is called as feeding in Ansible. If you ever get a error with feed, that means your data model is not good. Okay, might be some template is wrong, might be some notation is wrong. So prefer this external tool to see if the data model format is good or no. Okay, and main script, the normal thing which we've been doing so far, just few bunch of lines. Okay, you are gonna define your variable file and you're gonna define your template. Now this single main script can have multiple tasks. Okay, so you can have interface, you can have VLAN, you can have DHCP on one script, but if you want to have a different for different purpose, you can keep them. So it's very simple. You're defining your data model with the variable statement, and then you're sourcing your the template for that particular task. Okay, now I'll show you a small theory about this thing. Okay, so I'll take another like 15 minutes and we will wind up and we will take up in the next class. Okay, regarding the variable file which I just showed you, that is over here. So if you're wondering, is it a user defined, is it a or is it a Ansible standard? So if you search for Ansible var file, using variables. So when where it says using variable with Jinja 2, okay, so it's gonna define you all the different things to make use of variables. So let's see if I search for variable files. So you have this. Okay, I have very similar template with me, defining variable in files. Okay, I made something. This is my data model, and beneath here under task I gave my template. So this is a standard, and see, this is the format of your templating. Okay, see, there are two ways you can define. If you have some variable like with respective to color, all those things, you can define this variable. If you're dealing with variable with respective to files, then you can make use of this. See, in addition to var prompt, you have something called prompt also. You have file also. So variable for a JSON or YML. So that's with respect to the variable. Now there is one more interesting thing here, which is called as, let's say when you executed something here. Okay, you did your script, all those things. Now let's say whatever was executed, the output, if you want that output to be integrated with the Slack. Slack is one tool which sends you notification, or it's like a team communicator, right? Slack. So you can integrate your Ansible with Slack notifications. Okay, this is Slack. So if you go with the Ansible Slack integration, you just have to define one more task, and you have to give your like the code, the code of your Slack uh, integration for integrating them. Okay, I'll just show you the Ansible part. It's very simple. You just have to, if you have Slack in your office, create a new notification group place the people of, or like let's say network engineers, all those people with respective to some other team, and there will be a some unique code, and that code you have to add it up over here. So let me show you. It's just a introducing another task. Let's say if this is your task, right, you will write another task beneath this main script. So once this is executed, the last task for Slack will be also executed, and the notification will be sent to the Slack members. Looks like internet is slow. Okay, so in a Slack integration, so you have various way to integrate. So this you can integrate, or might be, see, you need to have the token of your Slack group. This is one way of integration. Now let's say you want to change with the color bar, you can go with this part. So basically this part you just have to integrate over here. The so after this task or end of your main script, you're gonna add this. Okay, so it needs some API. Let's say you have some APIs, then you can add your API here. So it's under token. Okay, so this is for Slack integration. The second thing is the template. Okay, now let's say if I take back over here, so my template, or let's say my data model and my template, let's say if I want to keep it on a centralized server like a GitHub, okay, repository, so I can change that. Okay, so we call that as Ansible GitHub, and there is a integration or default integration. So if I say Ansible GitHub integration, so I can keep my template on my GitHub and just change on a centralized which is visible to everyone. So let's see repo. So you can see there is a way we can integrate, but there is a Ansible document for that. Okay, module. Okay, let's check out this. Yeah, this is the one. So you instead of making use of variable file, okay, instead of making this, because this is locally used, right, you can make use of this now, git repo, and uh, you can just keep your path on the centralized GitHub. Might be your company has your own repository on GitHub, right? So you can just point it to that, so that that's visible to, let's say, customer, and or whatever changes is done on a template, you have the visibility. So you can also do that. Okay, so there are a couple of integrations we do. These are few things which I said, but there can be a lot of integration, okay, apart from the Slack, GitHub. So there are other ways you want to do this. Okay, so you can have your destination, the archive file, the repo. So give me just a minute. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll quickly tell you two things now before I wind up. One is YML, and the second thing is the Jinja template, because that's important if you want to understand the theory of what we learned today. Otherwise, it will not make sense and you might have a lot of doubts, right? So let me write it here in case of, okay, let me just increase the font. YML or YML. Okay. The reason YML is not used is because some operating system only consider 2 or 3 extension characters, right? So that there is where the YML was being shortened to give YML, because YML is 4. You will never see some extension with ending 4 such characters. So that's one reason we make use of YML in the case of Ansible. Ansible is written on YML. The main Ansible playbooks, or let's say Ansible playbooks, are written on YML. Okay. Uh, what is YML? What is YML? It's something called as YML ain't markup language. Okay. For example, some of the other examples here are like HTML, CSS, which is color sheet, color style, PHP, okay, .asp. They were some languages, and YML is one such, and it's used in Ansibles. Okay, they are very easy. They are very easy to write. Okay, or I can say very easy for humans to understand. There are other competitor for YML apart from this, because they are a web language. I'll more go with network languages. So in network languages, we have like XML, or we have JSON. So YML is very simple. That's why I said when data model, we can write in JSON and YML. YML was simpler in case, right? But JSON was little difficult. You get online parsing for all the three. You can do the online conversion and you can use it. But to understand, YML is much more easier. Okay, it's more human readable, or easy for humans to read. Okay. Basically, YML is used in the applications, okay, to store the data or transmit, right? That's the work of these languages. When I write this Ansible script, what is it dealing with? It's just trying to store, it's trying to transfer the data from my script to the box, or from collect the box using of variables, right? So basically YML is a language which is used in the configuration files and in the application where we have the data being stored or transmitted. Okay, how do we write Ansible? So we always start with 3 hyphens in the case of Ansible. And for ending, so let's say this is for starting. And for ending, we have not been doing this, but there is a standard format for ending also. So ending is always done with 3 dots, okay, which is not required, which is not mandatory, okay, but there is a format for ending. But starting is important, because if you don't start, the script will not recognize. Okay, what kind of format YML follows? It's a key value format. Okay, so I say it's a key value. That's why it was more simpler to understand. Key value, if you just recall, it was a part of dictionary data structure, right? So how do you define? With 3 notations. You If you have something to start this, let's say you're gonna say IP interfaces. Okay, you're gonna define the IPs like 1.1.1. You're gonna say what is the subnet, 255.255.255.255, or class C or something, whatever you want to do on this particular interface. Okay, and then you can close this with the 3 dots. So this is how we write YML. So the same thing on JSON would have been with curly bracket, the square bracket. Might be you get little confused, right? So this is a simplest way of writing the YML format. Okay, Now we can have YML also been written in a what do you say, in a list format. Say for example, I'll give you example number 2. Okay, so let's say this was example 1. So if you want, you take the screenshot of this page, because I will erase it after writing YML. So it would be good. I'll let you know when I'm going to do that. So you take a screenshot, might be if it's helpful. So in the case of example 2, I'll start with the 3 hyphens. Let's say IP interface. Okay, and now, like in the above example, I have not written something, right? Now I can make use of, like, in a list format. Let's say I have 1.1.1, I have like 2.2.2. Okay, multiple answers in a list format. So this is also supported. So you never know when do you need this option for your scenario. So this is also supported. This is called as in a list format. Okay, YML in a list format. Now you can have list inside a dictionary. So this was more like a dictionary. This was a list. Now you can combine both of them. You can have list and dictionary in a YML as well as. So let's take that as example. 1 second. So let's take that example 3, where you want list in dictionaries. Okay, I'll start with my YML format. I'm gonna say IP interfaces, and let's say I have what can I give this as? So let's say I have IP 1.1.1. Okay, I have subnet of 255.255.255.0, which is a normal dictionary format. Now before closing this, I can do something like, let's say I have some IP helper address, okay, which is a part of DHCP. So let's say I have IP helper, and IP helper can be multiple IPs, right? So here I can make use of a list format. So let's say I have IP helper requirement, and I have these IPs. So this is like list inside dictionary in your YML format. Okay, and now finally you can close this 3 dots. So this is one way. It's a dictionary format. Okay, you have the list format, and then you have list in dictionary. Similar way, example 4, where you can have multiple list in a dictionary format. Okay, so let's say example 4, multiples. So something like this. Say for example, hyphens, you go with your IP interface. Okay, you have IP 1.1.1, whatever you configured, subnet 255.255.255.0. You have IP helper, okay, where you defined all 2.2, 3.3. Okay, and now you can have the second interface over here. So you can say let's say you have something else now. So apart from IP interface, let's say this is for GI0/1, and now you want to have something similar on the second interface. Okay, and you can keep the same format, that is IP. So now we can give it as 22.22.22.22. I can give the subnet, right? I can make use of IP helper, and I can assign the same IP helper if they are still the relay DHCPs 3.3.3 and whatever. So this is one more format of keeping them. Okay, there is something called as YML parser. Okay, so let's say online YML parser. Okay, so if you're stuck somewhere, okay, so before doing that, if you want to take a screenshot, you can take this. I'm giving you like 10 seconds for doing that, and I'll clear this. Okay. All right, so I guess you have already done. So there is something called YML parser, okay, where you can change from your JSON to YML. Okay, so these things will help you to code in a right way. There's one more called this JSON and YML, so you can make use of it. So this is, see how we have the list in a YML. Okay, we can have the dictionary placed as well. So this is about YML. Now the second thing which we discussed today was with respective to the templating model, which is new to you guys, right? That's J2, we call it as J2 templating. Now this is a templating tool which we use in Ansible, but it's more widely used in other tools like Flask. In case of language called Flask, this is a default J2 template. Okay, the J2, the Jinja is default. Okay, J2 or Jinja is also written as Jinja 2. Might be it's a new version 2. That's why we call it as Jinja 2. Okay, it's a open standard. It's a web template engine. Web template engine in Python. Okay, Ansible. Who are the creator of this? The creator is Armin Ronacher. Okay, and it's a open source in the sense you can find them under the BSD license. What else about this? So basically, why do we need J2 templating? For the dynamic expression, or a dynamic, or I can say dynamic scalable of your scripts. Okay, so what is J2 template consist of? If you saw me writing this, I was talking about a condition, a for loop, and the variables and the comments, right? So over here in a J2 templating, we use the same thing. We use it for writing the conditions or conditional uh, statement, okay, or loops. Okay, we write it to define the variable, or we can also use the J2 for making use of comment. The format, that is the two curly brackets with something like this. You can have your variable defined, or you can have something like this. Okay, so this is in the case of writing conditions like for loops, while loops. Okay, this is while calling the variables in the sense while referring to the data models, right? The data models with the variables. And to have some comment part or comment section, you can make use of like these things. Okay, so this is for comments. So this is the three things we use in J2. There is nothing else that we use here. So using these three, you have to write the templates. Okay. So what are the drawbacks of static versus dynamic templates. You now know both of them. You know what is static and you know what is dynamic. So you have done with a lot of portions, right? So static is for creating a solution for every questions. Okay, so let's say I have 10 questions. Okay, 1 second. Give me a second. Just a minute. Okay, sorry. So, what are the drawbacks of static and dynamic? So, if you have 10 questions, you need 10 scripts to answer them, right? Now, in the case of so let's say this is static. In the case of dynamic, you have 10 questions, you can get the solution in one script. So, it makes your life easy. Okay, so that's how we can call that static versus dynamic from the solution point of view or writing a script point of view. If you talk from scalable, static are never scalable. You have something coming up, you have to change the script accordingly. But in the case of dynamic, you just have to tweak those data models and rest are going to be the same. Okay, with respective to time, static is gonna take more time, right? For every data center you're gonna create it, you for every uh, branch or campus you're gonna create. But in the case of dynamic, you're gonna keep the same thing. It's just about changing the data model and the host, and that's it. It's gonna be done. It's more efficient way to handle the script and all the other things. Okay. Okay, so let me write an example of a Jinja template. So, which we have already done. Let's say I want to write some looping, okay, in the J2 format. So, what is the way that we write? We say we start with this. I say for I in range of 3. Okay, let's close this, and we say that this is like some variable, because I have called a variable here, right? For, so I have to call that. So I say for variable, okay, and we need to close this, and for, and close this. So this is one of the template used for writing a basic for loop. Okay, so let's say if I go to my PyCharm, the same script, if I, okay, I need a new J2 file, or let's see if I can make use of the console or terminal. If I just copy paste that thing, for I in range 3, this is okay. So this is variable, and for, okay, I'll make use of my online tools. Okay, so for Jinja parser also you get some online tools in case you're not so let's say, okay, this is a good one, Jinja 2 live parser. So if you want to test something, you can straight away bring your template, okay, and you can click on render. So if it is good, you will get some output. Otherwise you will get some issues. For I in range, okay, let me make use of this in some other tools. I'm using it on Chrome. Okay, let me write here. So let's say for I in range of 3, okay, and I want to see how it performs. I say this is just call the variable that I'm making use of, I, okay, variable, and it's a end for statement. Okay, I guess there's some issue with the tool. Otherwise, you would have got this rendering. You could have seen how the for loop behaves. Okay, so most of our script today we have written for loop. In case of VLAN, in case of interface, it was all a for loop which was rendering. Okay, so I guess is an issue with this. Let me see some other Jinja parsing. Okay. Okay, so this is working. Okay, see how for loops work. When you have a for loop templating, let's say this example, you just saw that you got all the output 0, 1, 2, 3. If you have, let's say, 10, and you just click on convert, so you see they work in a template base. So there is where your VLAN, your interfaces were seen, because the VLANs are gonna created one by one. And where is the input they are gonna get? They're gonna get it from the data model. Okay, so that's a tool which will help you. So this is one of the template. Okay, and that's how we just saw. Now let's say if I wanna include the, so let's say if I want J2 included inside Ansible, okay, which we did today, but let me give you an example. So let's say host, I say automation switches, okay, I define all my variables, all those things, and at the end what I did was I showed you having something called as where files. That's when you have your data model on your uh, on an external file, okay, and you just pointed it like it's a interface dot json, or you can write yml, right? Similar way, if you had this on your GitHub, okay, you could have gone with git and you can go with the repository, okay, and you can define that http and all those things. So let's take, it's a variable, okay, it's just a variable, and you just defined something, some things here uh, with the list format, and in the next thing you're gonna define task. Okay, so over here in the task is where you define your the J2 template, right? And how do you define? You give some name, you say that configuring VLAN or interface or whatever, and then you go make use of the template, and then you call it as source, and then you give the J2 like VLAN J2, or it was interface J2, okay, or this was within some folder. Might be you created a dedicated folder for templates and you have it within that. So this is how we define this. Okay. And where is the destination? That's, let's say this is your template, this is your data model. Where do you want that to be saved? There are two things now. In today's class we did direct execution. You might see some people doing first data rendering, that is taking the data and that data then getting executed on a devices. Okay, there are two things. The script can be broken in two parts. What I did today was a single script where I defined my variables, I defined my source for template, and it was directly executed on the box. Now, instead of directly executing on the box, you can write one script which will do the data rendering. That is, you can put your destination and you can create a text file. So let's say the data model here, the template here gives you a text file with all those things like VLAN 10, name, whatever, VLAN 11, all those things in a proper structure, and that structure you copy paste to the box. It's a additional step which if you want you can do it, but I'm just telling because if you see this kind of model, don't be surprised. We just introduce one additional step in this cases. Okay, the thing is I'm collecting all my data here in the destination, and then I'm just triggering it on the device. If you don't want to do this, you can just straight away get it done on a device basis. Okay, you can do straight away on the device basis. So as you know, these are the three things which we use. Okay, the three things which is used in the J2. There's nothing more than that here. And regarding the where file, so let's say you have your J2. Okay, you're giving the source to be J2. So where are this J2 will be looked up? Where is the lookup done now? So it will first check the absolute path, okay, or absolute file. Uh, absolute file is where where this is saved properly. Okay, the default folder, I can say it as default folder. Like in my case, I said template 123 something which I said, and the all files were placed there, so that becomes the absolute file. Okay, I can say local file. The second, let's say if that was not over there, so it will check the relative to the project path. Okay, now let's say you created a project and it's gonna check over there the second thing, because you have a variable, okay, and you have a source. So how is the data model getting synchronized? So first it will check local. If it's not finding, it's gonna check the project, and third it will check to the Ansible folder. That's nothing but your the entire path of etc Ansible, and there is how it's gonna take the data, and you know what are the variables that we are actually mapping, so that it picks the right one, so there is no room for the confusions. Okay, so in the case of Ansible, what is the right way that we can define this? So this is called as Ansible tree. Okay, so you all know that there is a ansible.cfg, there's something called host, right? You can also create something called group variables. Okay, under group variables you can create your different platform devices. So let's say you have iOS switch, you can create and place it there. You have a Nexus OS switch, you can place it there. Okay, similar way you can create something called as host variable. Now host variable is something which is with respective to an box. Okay, so let's say you want to create uh, a individual username for individual devices, right? So in that case you can make use of something like this, like text.yml. So these are two variable folder, group.var in a broader way, host.var with respective to individual boxes. Okay, let's say you wanna have something specific on one of the box. Okay, and you can have your templates. Okay, where you will place your all J2 templates. You can place your data models either in a new folder. Okay, you can call it as like data models, and you can like keep placing them. Sorry. Okay, you can have the data models and the Ansible main book, right? So you can say ansible.yml, or you can say Ansible playbook, which can be kept here. So your whole together, your Ansible, this is like your Ansible tree, we call it as. Okay, yeah, so you guys can take the screenshot of this, and then I'll erase this, and we are done with the Ansible part. We are done with the theory. I believe your answers were somewhere hidden in this particular theory, like how it works, what are the data model, where it look for us, the source, all those things. So you guys can take a screenshot, and then I'll open up for the Q&A. Okay, I guess you have done with that. Okay, guys, so you can unmute and you can ask yourself if you have any doubt.
All right, Sagar, Farooq here.
Yes, hello.
Question, I'm pretty sure answer will be yes. We can have inputs for all the variables as well. And I didn't quite follow the host file. The host file will be another template where the IPs will be kept for the host files. Perhaps I missed that somewhere.
Yes, host file is like your inventory. You can keep all your inventory files. Which is the other file which you are confused with this inventory file?
So, sorry, say again,
Are
please.
you confused with the inventory file on a template of what we discussed today?
That was in one of the
So the host file is also called.
YAMLs, yeah, playbook. The main scripts, yeah, I can see there's a host file,
Okay,
host called there.
so it depends on which group of device you're calling. So
Yeah,
yeah, so you can either keep that separate, and you can put your IP directly here, but that's not good enough
yeah,
because that's limit your script. So you are keeping a separate database or inventory file where you can group Nexus, iOS, EOS, and you can call them. So this was actually in the class number one, where I gave you some formats for inventory, all those things. You can make multiple groups out of all individual groups, like a data center A beneath that. So something like let me see. So let's say you have your DC1 where you can group your. So this acts your first group. Then you have your iOS, where you can define all your different devices. Then you have your EOS, where you can define once again all different IPs. And similarly, you can have multiple platform. So every scripts you just can call either this exactly over here where you said host. Like in my case, I'm calling up automation switch. So similar way, you can just call one of them. Like if you want to place that change only for this, or let's say you want to this, or let's say you have every devices to be considered. So in that case, you can call this. So does that answer your question?
yeah. I've got another
Yeah.
question. What's the inputs? Can we take user inputs for various VLANs or interfaces and keep them in a loop or something, or it's not recommended?
Where exactly? I didn't get that. Is it in the dynamic scripting or the static?
Yeah, dynamic. Yeah, in the dynamic where we have a VLAN
Okay.
and then we did another script for the
Yeah.
interfaces. Can we have like a loop for those and in a form of inputs until I keep giving inputs, it keeps taking it?
So you want to have it while you execute them, or while you execute them. So this was my data model script where I had input all my information like what IP on which interface. So this is something which you have to do manually. And if you are trying to automate this, then that depends that how is your data, is are they in a sequential order. If they are in sequential order, you can go with the for loop and you can do the automation. But if they're not in sequential order, then you have to do it manually, like how we have discussed in Python. You can have an external text file with the configuration, you can push it. So those things, manual thing will still be a little bit which you have to work on. But yes, if it is something in a sequential order, like you need VLAN 1 to 100 all in sequential, then you can write a for loop and you can bring it up. But if it is not in sequential, like you need 1, you need 5, you need 10, then you have to do some manual work.
Okay, fair enough. And all these scripts have written and are joined together in a, let's say, another message script, like a configurer script
Okay.
for any type of devices. Can they be converted into executables, or they more like what shall I call it? Is it JVM based?
I didn't exactly get you. So you mean to say you need,
Can
yeah,
it
you need one script which can have all the individual tasks?
as main script, which will have a branches of different tasks,
Yes, yes, you can.
and then we can convert the whole program into an executable file. Does that
Okay.
really work
Yeah,
in that
I
way?
guess you can do that. So you can do that exactly. So you can run some batch files, right? .bat extension. When you click them, it will run it up and run the script, something like that. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. And what about the security element? Are they very secure in the our work environments and all that? Are there any security concerns about all these scripts?
The scripts or the batch files or what you are saying, the
Scripts, batch files,
batch file.
all this
Yeah.
orchestration or automation. Yeah.
So batch file is completely out of the scripting, but we can do them. Either you have a front end application, you can run this in a batch, or if you just do a .bat extension, you can do that. So that's a out of networking or out of automation, the coding what we did. But from the coding point of view, these are all secured. The Ansible is something which runs on SSH once again. So you don't, yeah, you don't need your
Okay.
HTTP or telnet to be enabled. It's all SSH.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Oh, yeah, another question. So let's say from my organization, what minimum requirement? I mean, what? Uh, okay, you did show that we need what we need to install on a server to make it support
Uh,
YML
for
or YAML.
YML there is not.
This Ansible scripts.
No, you just have to launch the Ansible from the PIP. So once you install Ansible, rest are by default, because YML is just a language on the server, and all the J2, all those things, they are just a language. You don't have to install anything apart from Ansible. You just have Ansible and that's all.
Okay, just need to install Ansible, like a Python 3 point or whatever version. That wouldn't work. We still need to have another module installed as
Yes,
well,
right,
which will be
right,
Ansible.
right, right.
Okay,
So you have to have that
thank you.
pip install Ansible, and it will. You need an internet connection, and then it will just download the necessary package, and you will have that new folder called etc Ansible coming up.
Okay, pip install
Yeah, yeah,
Ansible. Lovely.
yes,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Saga,
Yes.
I'm looking at this class 12 script at the moment.
Okay.
And where you say you need a couple of things to start off the script for the Ansible. Now, I have got MNG.
Okay.
What, how things is going to work on that one?
So EVNG, which version, community or pro?
Community.
So in the community version, also you can do the same thing which I did on a GNS. So what I did is, we cannot have the network automation Docker on EVNG. So you have to then download a Ubuntu box. So you have to go to online, you have to look for a Ubuntu server, and then you have to
Okay.
deploy it on your EVNG.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so one question regards to the Ansible. When executing the script, is it possible to see output on the same screen like NetMiko or Paramiko? Yes, we can. If you remember, you have to place a register command or register value variable, capture the output, and then make use of the next task where it says debug, and you have to take it out. Okay, that's one way. Or if you don't want that mess, you can just make use of the verbose by default. So if you let's say I have one of the Ansible playbook command. So if I place like verbose, so these are verbose. Okay, so this can also pretty much show you what is happening over on that script. See, so this command, this output you got not because you had something on your script, that's because of the verbose. Verbose are like your debugs, so it's gonna show you. Okay. So Jinja is a template. JSON, Yang, XML are language. Okay, Jinja is separate thing. It's a template. Whereas JSON, Yang, and XML, you can at least relate them. So there's one more question on interface.yml. Can't we make a loop? Okay. As I told you, loop is only helpful when they are in sequential. If they are not in sequential, you cannot make use of loop. And data, as you saw today, they were not in any kind of like sequence. So let me show one of them. So if you see, I considered them as in a sequential, but let's say they were not. So in that case, you have to still rely on line by line. Okay, and yes, this YML is very similar to your main scripts. Okay, the main script YML. So where in previously what I showed you how do we use those for loops and all those things. So there's way we can do that, but depends on what kind of data is that. If it's sequential, it's easy, we can play around, but if it's non-sequential, then we cannot. Okay, so dynamic feature, just think in this way. If you are given a static template, okay, a static template is something where you have everything on one single page, and if you are developing something, you have to always tamper that particular script. So there is chances that this template goes wrong on a window while you are executing. So whereas in the case of dynamic, you're not gonna touch any of them. You're not gonna touch the main script nor the template. It's only the data model, something like this. So this is like a normal text file. You place it on your Ansible server and you are able to execute. So data can be changing every time. So this is not something I will use in the next attempt. So in the next attempt, the data might be something else. So in that case, I don't have to tamper my main script or the template. That's predefined things. But in the static, what happens is everything is on the same script. If let's say if I was changing one of the script, might be I removed one of the inverted commas, or I just did something wrong, so whole script will break, right? And in a script, might be you are writing so many tasks. a task to run interface, VLAN, DHCP, everything will fail. Whereas here you're just trying to be more dynamic. So it depends on the real time entries. Rest will be not test, so like your template, the template engine or the main script will not be uh, uh, modified. Yeah, I'll upload.
So,
Yeah.
the question is, I mean, I understand, like, like we are writing as in like blocks kind of a code here, which is useful for actually like executing that specific part of the block and all those things, which is not there in the normal Python, like, thing. But apart from that, actually, like, the dynamic nature is always actually depending on the kind of the file, the input file what we provide, right? For example, in the previous examples, whenever we have executed the scripts, we used to take that host.txt file actually, which
Hello. We lost you. Hello.
appreciate well. I mean,
Hey,
like, is there
lost you.
something else which you are going to cover next week? Means okay, I'll just reserve my
we
question
we
until
lost
then.
you. We lost you. So sorry. What was in between? You asked something.
Yeah. So can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah. I can. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I understand that actually, like, we are writing it in actually, like, blocks based code and
Okay.
all, which is good. I mean, like, in the very beginning of the Ansible course, you mentioned that actually, hey, you know what, we can actually write the code and we can put some few tags. And if you can actually invoke, for example, OSPF tag, only OSPF code will be executed.
Yes.
So those kind of things you gave as an, good examples.
Okay.
So that is good. So I'm still able to, like, really maybe, like, I'm just seeing this for the first time. I have not seen it completely. Maybe if you're going to cover one more class also, that is also fine.
Okay.
But maybe if I'm asking this question, just, pardon me.
Okay.
But, my whole question is actually, so in the normal, in not in the world of actually Ansible and all these, data modeling languages and all, in the normal ways, in the normal days, actually, like, when we used to do code with Python or else actually, like, in any other scripting language, right? So before and all, we used to actually invoke that respect to method or function, and we used to actually, like, get the get our necessary function or, like, get our necessary activity fulfilled
Okay.
with a based on the kind of, input we used to give. So what exactly we are bringing on the table by actually, like, see, this is actually, like, not a network programming kind of a language, right? This is completely different.
Hmm.
Like, this is something actually, like, which is for application development and something like that one.
Okay.
So where are we really bringing that, you know that whole flavor of actually networking into this? Why we being network engineers, because, like, our day in day out life is actually networking,
Yeah.
right? So why we have to really, like, adapt to this Ansible or these complex, modeling languages,
Okay.
like, which we have been not using actually, like, since many years of,
Okay.
network automation.
Okay. So, are you good with Python, or do you also contradict with the using of Python, or are you thinking that only Ansible is complex, and this is the question with respect to only Ansible or also including Python?
The Python was good. I mean,
Okay.
like, initially the 10 scripts and
Okay.
all those
So
things, whatever we ran,
if
so those are all really good
okay, so
because
if
it
you
has a lot of functionalities and
yeah,
all.
if you think in that way that Python is good but Ansible is complex, then let me tell you, like, in this let me compare these two things with respective to EIGRP and OSPF. Both are the same. Both you can use on a network devices for IGP protocol. You will see like 50% of company using EIGRP, but the other 50 are using OSPF, right? You never know, when you go to an interview, they ask you OSPF question or they ask you EIGRP question, but they will think that you are a network engineer, you know both of them. Similar way, when you go for automation interview, you never know they are asking you Ansible or Python, because these both are adopted 50-50. Ansible it looks difficult because you have to do a lot of things here, because in a lab I'm doing everything, like I did host file, I did a configuration file, I installed. But let's say let's say everything was done and given you the exposure or given you the visibility to only script, and as a automation engineer your role was just to develop the script and execute. So that is making it more simpler actually. The reason it looking little bit complex is because in a lab we don't have anyone, we have to do ourselves to set all these things so that we can start practicing. That's the only one thing why you felt it is little bit difficult. Whereas in Python we had the PyCharm, we just wrote something and we were continuously triggering it up. There was no mess around with host. There was nothing like dynamic features or something like that. It was very standalone things. Okay, just write and trigger it out. But in case of Ansible, to get everything set up and to demonstrate, I had to do lot many things, and that's why altogether it looks like little complicated. In production everything will be set up. You as a network automation engineer, you just have to write the playbooks. So you just need to know the playbooks, that's all. Playbook. And if you are being asked to do a dynamic thing, then you must know those templating, and that's all your whole uh, work would be limited to. So you will not deal with any kind of installation or all those things.
Hey, Saga.
Yes.
Yes, I was just piggyback on what you're saying because I've done Python scripts, I've done Ansible, and I've done Nonia.
Okay.
And I would say, when it comes to Ansible, it is easier once you have everything set up with the host files,
Yes.
your group files, variables, and all that. I mean, Nonia works the same way. It does use YAML files for group hosts, inventory files, but Nonia leans more towards using Python in its scripts than it does for like using playbooks,
Okay.
like in a YAML format.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say between using Python, Ansible, Nonia, I would say Ansible is easier.
Yeah.
The only issue I had with Ansible was that they would sometimes, if you updated, they would change some stuff in the playbook, and then some of your playbooks wouldn't run anymore, so you had to go back and redo the playbooks. And I think that's why they're making the push now for Nonia, because Nonia just uses Python.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say Ansible is a bit easier.
Okay.
It is easier than just writing.
Yeah, so that's actually like how I told you, EIGRP and OSPF. EIGRP is completely very easy and very easy to configure. But some companies, from point of scalability, they go with OSPF, which is little bit lot of things in OSPF. Similar way, Ansible is easy if you have everything set up by your administrator, and if he gives you the console to develop the script, then it's easy. Whereas in Python, there are some more things which companies will not like, being it static only, and lot of things on a single script, all those things. So it's a organization to organization which they prefer. But yes, as a automation, that's not a and you have lot of things coming up. Which is not included in this batch. Okay, like you will deal with RESTconf APIs. There are so many things. Okay, and you have to read everything. There's no shortcut. There's no favorism that you are good with Python and you expecting the work coming only on Python. So there's no end for this. If you started with automation, it's keep on increasing. So might be next 5 years we will have a lot of new things, and we have to at least know. Yes, don't have to be in very depth, but you should know what is happening, and you should be able to develop a script or something like that.
Yeah, I would like to add something on that, because I think I heard that somewhere when last year when they announced these all new certifications in the Cisco conference from David Bronfeld,
Okay.
if I'm not forgetting. So the what I remember was that the conclusion of that discussion was that CLI is dead. API is the new CLI.
Yes.
So it's a very important for us. I know some of us try to run away from programming. That's why we ended up in a networking. Some of
Yeah,
us, I'm
yeah,
one of them.
yeah.
And it looks like
Even I'm one of
programming is
them.
haunting. It is coming.
Yeah.
It is coming back, and it looks like the future. If we don't know programming, we're just out of the game.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true.
Doesn't matter how much network knowledge do we
Yes,
have.
even I'm one of them. I used to hate this software and I never preferred software job. I preferred networking because it was out of network scripts and languages. But eventually, we are landing up to the same thing which we were ignoring. But the only good thing is we are learning those 10 to 15 line. Whereas the C++, Java, those are like 300 lines of scripts. So at least we are learning 10 to 20 lines. So I think we should know this if we want to be on a trend what's emerging right now. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sagar, I've got one question. I know we've taken a lot of your
Okay.
time. Just to understand, perhaps it's a very basic question you may have already answered in our previous classes. C++ has its own compiler. Other languages has their own compiler. Java came, it has on a virtual machine, JVM. So it was platform dependent. When it comes to Python, Python has its own compiler, or is it actually based on Java? And what about Ansible?
No, Python itself,
In that
yeah,
sense,
Python already has its own compiler, whereas Ansible is preferring Python.
yeah, Ansible is referring
Yes.
Python. And HTML, those marker languages, they used to have any compiler? I can't remember. I don't remember any compiler, but HTML used to work only on a browser or something.
Yeah, HTML used to be on browsers, so they themselves were a compiler, if I'm not wrong.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, and XML is based on HTML.
Yes,
so I remember.
yes.
I hope I'm not forgetting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So why YAML is just like XML?
Yes,
markup
yes.
language.
YML, XML, and JSON. I think these three act as a language. Yeah.
Yes, okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. So we'll meet up in the next class. I have to join another meeting. So have a nice day. Have a nice weekend, and we'll catch up in the next week. Okay. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.